up, guys? Ivan Malpica here, real estate investor, full-time employee, coming at you again with this weekly tip, dropping knowledge. Here we go. All right, so today I want to talk about creative financing and how do we finance these deals. Okay, what I'm going to list off, I haven't used them all, but I know how they work. All right, when you're going into a deal, there's not always the traditional way. There's not always the traditional way where you have to go to a bank. You don't always have to go to a bank to finance real estate. There are creative ways. You got to get creative with your financing. So I become a master at creative financing. I like to say, if all you know is traditional financing, it's either one, you got a lot of money, or two, you're not educated on creative finance. You're not educating yourself on finance. You gotta educate yourself and understand the different pieces and different ways to acquire property, to buy real estate. Okay? So, just a few to list off. One, lease options. You can do a lease option on a property if you, as the buyer and the seller, agree to do a lease option. You can do that, and then you can go and turn around, and my favorite is doing a lease option and turn it into an Airbnb. I would say that would be a good option to acquire an income producing property. You don't necessarily own the property, but you control the asset. You control what happens. Again, if you put a full-time renter in there. So for an example, if you do a lease option, if the seller or the owner has it, let's say, under market, let's say they have it at rented for $1,000, okay, you're gonna go and put your name on that lease. However, you need to have the owner agree that you're going to then turn around and find a new renter in there. Okay, maybe you turn around and, again, like I said, if they're under market, you turn around and you put a full-time renter in there for $1,300 a month. So that means you'll be cash flowing, after, I don't know if you, maybe some utilities or whatever, but typically you don't have to pay anything out of pocket. It's just you're paying the owner $1,000 because the renter's going to have everything else in their name, all the utilities. So you're cash flowing, $300. Or you furnish it and you make it an Airbnb and guarantee you'll be $1,500 to $2,000 a month on that Airbnb. So that's lease option. You don't need to go to a bank to acquire property or to control an asset like that. Wraparounds. I'm not going to get into wraparounds. I haven't really done them, but you can, if you're interested, Google wraparounds or Google creative financing for real estate. So you got wraparounds. You got contract by owner, so like wholesaling. I believe we did a video, me and Melina did a video around wholesaling. You can wholesale properties. Again, this is not a lot of money into the deal, but you can wholesale properties, and in some states you can be contract by owner, so where you're selling the contract. Okay, you can do seller financing, where the owner owns the property outright, meaning there's no debt on the property, and you agree that he becomes now the bank. Well, you agree to a interest rate, you agree to a purchase price, and you write that up on a promissory note. So again, seller financing, you're not going to a traditional bank. You're doing everything through the owner or the seller, right? There's different grants and programs that you can go. If you're a first-time home buyer, there's different grants and programs probably in your city or your state. So look those up. All right, you can get creative with that. They can pay your down payment sometimes. There's subject to. Subject to is, again, not going to a traditional bank, but the owner or the seller holds the financing. If they're trying to sell, again, basically what a subject to is, owner keeps the loan in their name, but you control the asset. You then change the deed over to your name. Okay, that's very common. This is sometimes people's business strategy. So again, seller holds the financing in their name, but the deed is the deed in the asset is under your name, so you control the asset. All right. So we can go into different pros and cons, if you have different questions on that. Okay, moving on. You got private lending. So private lending can be from family or friends, or even a private lender, someone who actually does this full time or on the side, people who have a lot of money and knows the real estate game, and knows that there's a good return. There's people out there looking for a better return than just the stock market, and those are private lenders, or again, your family and friends. And you can also become a syndicator, where you're or a venture capitalist, where you're raising money. You're raising money for real estate deals. But again, you got to know the knowledge. You got to know real estate. You got to know. You either got to have the credit, the money, or the knowledge. Knowledge being the easiest one. You can raise money. If you know real estate, you can raise money to fund your deals. That's what I'm saying. Like, knowledge is the easiest one. We've had people, always coming to us saying, yeah, I got $5, 10, $20,000 here and there that I want to put in real estate. I don't know much about real estate, but I know there's a good return. All right. You got hard money. Hard money, again, is the most expensive, I would say, loan out there. You're not going to a traditional bank, but you're going to a hard money lender. All right. Those cost a fee. There's a fee for using those type services. But sometimes when you don't have a lot of money, you don't necessarily have to put that 25% down on an investment property. All right. Yeah. So again, there's so many options, and lastly, we used credit cards. It's a line of credit, and it's got a higher interest rate. But again, we always have a plan. There's always a plan for any of those financing. You must have a plan. There's always an exit strategy on how am I going to get my money back, how am I going to get my return on investment, ROI, return on investment. That's the biggest question. What is my ROI? Okay, so get creative with your financing. It doesn't have to be the traditional go to a bank. There's so many different ways. I'm probably missing 20 different more. Google them. Get knowledgeable within creative financing. Get knowledgeable around real estate. If you know, again, credit, money, knowledge, if you know the knowledge being the easiest one, in financing, the knowledge of financing in there evens up with real estate. You need to know both hand to hand. If you know those two, then you can do some deals. You can definitely do some deals. So get that. So that's pretty much long-winded financing tip 101. There you go.